Romance of Sui and Tang Dynasties Chapter 31.
Emperor Yang is grappling with one of his biggest projects, the Guangaling Canal, the riverway.
A huge undertaking.
Monumental. It's for moving grain, troops, everything. But his officials have, well, they failed him. They can't find a workable route.
And we should probably pause there, because a failure like that is not just a delay. I mean, building the Grand Canal was a defining and often brutal part of the Sui.
Oh, absolutely. This is a massive political liability. It could even lead to unrest. So the emperor is just stewing in this administrative failure.
And that kind of anxiety in a ruler is dangerous.
It is. And this is where Empress Xiao shows her political genius. She doesn't offer advice on logistics or tell him who to punish.
Yeah.
She uses this strategy of elegant distraction.
Her advice is so simple, but it's pure courtly wisdom. She basically says, don't let worrying about the future ruin the present.
Exactly. She's telling him, stop trying to make policy decisions while you're angry.
Yeah, focus on what's happening right now in the court, which is a poetry gathering.
It's a masterful pivot. It completely shifts his emotional state from, infrastructure despair to aesthetic pleasure.
And it also sort of reinforces her own influence, doesn't it? She controls the cultural flow of the court.
Totally. So they decide to go and collect the poems that were requested from the court ladies.
And the change is immediate. They leave that heavy, serious meeting behind and head to Qinian Court, which is hosted by Madame Xia.
And the source material just paints this beautiful picture. It's that perfect moment between spring and summer.
Birdsong, falling flowers, light sun, gentle breeze.
It's the most peaceful, cultivated environment you can imagine.
But even in that peace, there's protocol. The emperor asks Madame Xia, where are the poems?
Right. And she explains the logistics. The poems are finished, but they were all given to Madame Qin in another court to be presented all at once.
Which suggests a pretty competitive environment. Presentation is everything.
It is. And just as they're settling into this calm, the disruption arrives. The emperor asks for his usual attendants, Yuan Bao'er and the others.
And they show up late.
More than late. The text says they look flustered, act normal. They have clearly broken a very serious rule.
You can just feel the tension. They can't lie, so they confess they were secretly watching something on the Renziyuan hill nearby.
And this is the moment where the story just turns on a dime.
It's a huge shift.
The contrast is just so violent. We go from the emperor's frustration over a national engineering project to the delicate art of poetry.
To a secret display of pure martial arts skill. It's like cultural whiplash.
The performer was a woman named Xu Yer. She was performing a sword dance.
A skill the emperor had no idea she possessed. Think about the risk she took doing this in secret, and the risk the attendants took watching her.
And the text really leans into that contradiction. It describes her wearing a light red gown like thin, bright mist and a simple white skirt like clear autumn water.
So she has this ethereal beauty.
Exactly, the beauty of an immortal. But at the same time, she has the spirit of a heroic woman, a Hoaxia Nu.
That dual identity is just electric. So the dance itself, it starts off how you expect, right?
Yeah.
Feminine, graceful.
Very much so. Movements like a dragonfly skimming water.
A swallow passing through flowers. It's all designed to be delicate, to be pleasing.
But that softness is it's instantly abandoned. The pace picks up, the blades become invisible.
And the swords are described as two white dragons.
Yes, winding up and down. The control required for that while still looking so graceful is just extraordinary.
Then we get to the climax. The text says she and the swords merge into a mass of white snow rolling across the steps.
It's an incredible image.
And then in one final, frankly terrifying move, she rolls to the corner and with a sky-turning sound, she cuts down a jujube tree.
A tree the size of a bowl. She just fells a small tree. Instantly.
With a flourish that's both graceful and lethal.
But what really shows her mastery is what happens next, the aftermath. She's completely composed.
Hair's not messed up. Face isn't flushed.
Not even out of breath. And crucially, she didn't raise any dust on the steps. It's just absolute surgical control.
And the emperor is captivated. He doesn't punish the attendants at all. He immediately celebrates her.
He calls her wondrous year.
And he declares that anyone who has both that kind of beauty and heroic skill must have immortal bones.
And that right there is the analytical kernel. This ruler, who is just fuming over his engineer's failure to control a river, is now celebrating a woman who can wield a blade with terrifying precision.
So what he values is what? Capacity? Skill?
I think so. Exceptional skill. A demonstration of superior power, whether it's martial or administrative. He just wants to see it work.
Even Empress Xiao agrees. She says, even I find her lovable.
And when the Empress validates that kind of raw physical power, it legitimizes it. It makes that a valid form of ambition within the court.
Which is so important because now they have to return to protocol. The adrenaline's gone and the 16 court ladies arrive for the banquet.
The emotional register just shifts again, from awe back to this witty intellectual sparring.
The emperor tries to be playful. He jokes that he'll find the late ladies, make them drink.
Yeah.
But Madame Jay, she's not having it.
No, she counters with this really high-level wit. It's a beautiful piece of social maneuvering.
She insists the empress should be the chief examiner of the poetry contest.
And the emperor only gets to be the deputy.
It's a playful challenge, but it's really about positioning the empress as the ultimate cultural authority in the room.
And the other ladies back her up. They reference the empress's knowledge of the Book of Songs, specifically the poem Guanju.
Which is so clever. Guanju is all about propriety, ritual, the right way to match a ruler and his consort.
So by bringing it up, they're praising the empress's virtuous guidance while also, subtly reminding the emperor that the whole state rests on this proper ritual that she oversees. It's flattery with a very sharp edge.
That tension just keeps building. Madame Qin finally presents the poetry manuscripts, and the emperor decides to read the poem by Jiang Yi first.
Just because she was the youngest and finished the fastest.
And this is where the drama really kicks in.
Yeah.
Jiang Yi says something like, she's empty in the stomach, and that's why she had to finish quickly.
A seemingly innocent, nervous comment.
Except Madame Qin immediately jumps on the subtext with, intentional malice.
She suggests that Zhang Geji's comment might be a jab at Madame Xia for having things in her belly.
And just like that, a simple apology becomes a coded dynastic revelation.
The empress gets it instantly. She asks directly if Madame Xia is pregnant, even offers congratulations. The emperor is just speechless for a moment.
Because this is huge news.
Yeah.
And it was delivered through a veiled insult.
The definitive answer, though, comes from Madame Liang, and she does it so discreetly.
Toward the table with her fingers.
3 fingers. To signal 3 months. That silent communication right in the middle of a banquet shows you how the most critical information really flows in court.
Yeah.
It's not through official channels.
It's whispers and gestures.
And that news, of course, trumps everything. Poetry, sword fights, all of it. The emperor is just overjoyed. He orders wine for himself and the empress.
Right, joking about his small contribution to the success.
It shows you the real priority,
Yeah.
lineage, stability. That's what matters most.
But the contest does have to continue. So let's actually look at the verses. The first one, by Zhang Gui, describes the court ladies competing for the king's attention, and it ends with the rainbow skirt dance, blurring heaven and earth.
And the emperor's judgment is that it's not embarrassing.
Which is basically damning with faint praise.
It is. The poem confirms this competitive environment, but the emperor seems, unimpressed by it.
Okay, so then the second poem, by Ji Chu. This one feels different. It's more subtle.
Much more. It's a quatrain about a lady who finishes her makeup too late. She hears the imperial chariot leaving without stopping for her.
And so she secretly plays her zither, her pipa, while turning away from everyone else.
If you think about the emotional landscape of the day, this poem is the total opposite of Xu Yi's aggressive sword dance.
Yeah.
It captures that quiet yearning, the loneliness, the private art that happens when no one is watching, born from disappointment.
We're looking at the early 7th century Emperor Yang of Sui. One night, a night where poetry decided everything.
That's right. We're diving into this practice called Ti Shi Yao Chang. Literally, it means presenting poems to invite favor. And believe me, this was no casual poetry slam.
Right.
This was a formal, high-stakes competition. You had the emperors, consorts, and concubines putting their literary skills on the line, all trying to win his attention, maybe some status, and, probably a visit from him that very night.
And the sources make it clear, this whole thing, the music, the drinks, the poems, it was all overseen by Emperor Yang and his wife, the Empress Xiao, who sounds like she was quite formidable.
Oh, absolutely. Empress Xiao was definitely a major political player. And in this setting, she was essentially the chief judge.
How they were using literary taste, judgment as a way to wield power.
Exactly. We need to look at the different tactics these women used. Yeah. Who went for subtlety? Who was more direct, maybe even flirtatious? And crucially, how did Empress Xiao kind of steer the whole thing, controlling who won and what it all meant? Shifu Ren, Lady she apparently nailed it early on.
What made her stand out? The emperor praised it, right?
He did, because she didn't just use the standard Xing by, general metaphors like I'm lonely, like an autumn flower kind of thing.
Okay.
She used something called Idian Shi, which is basically referencing a specific personal event, a private memory.
Ah, so it's more intimate. What was the memory?
Her poem talked about a specific time the emperor heard her playing the lute, the pipa, from behind a wall in King Shi Yuan, and she described the music as sounding like resentment, like longing, like weeping, like complaining.
Wow. So it wasn't just a poem about longing. It was a poem tied to a moment only he would fully get. That's clever.
That's the power of Dianshi. It creates this bubble of shared experience. The emperor apparently said her poem was just like painting her own picture.
So it felt personal, unique to him.
Exactly. And the empress even chimed in, sort of casually mentioning she'd like a private performance later. That's hitting the jackpot, creating emotional exclusivity through art.
Okay, so that's the gold standard. Now, what about when it didn't quite land? You mentioned some confusion with Zhang Tao.
Right, Zhang Tao, also known as Jingbo Shi. She submitted 2 juju, those really tight 4-line poems, very disciplined form.
What were they about?
Well, the first one used imagery of spring in Yangzhou, saying she was like a neighbor to the famous Qianghua flower. Pretty standard, maybe a bit generic.
Okay.
The second one, though, was much more vivid. It described her getting ready, hearing her parrot announce midday, and then this is the key part, quietly sneaking her embroidered shoes under the flowers to wait for him.
She's literally hiding, waiting for him to arrive. That seems pretty direct emotionally, even if the image is delicate.
You'd think so, but the emperor's first reaction, he kind of brushed it off, said it expressed too much homesickness.
Homesickness. He completely missed the romantic pining. Or did he?
Well, this is where Empress Xiao steps in, and this is amazing. She doesn't just correct him, she calls for a large cup and says she's fining him 3 drinks for misunderstanding the poetry.
Wait, she fined the emperor in front of everyone?
Yes. It's a huge display of her authority, basically putting him on the spot.
Wow. Talk about keeping him in line.
Definitely. She then basically gave a little lecture explaining that Zhang Tao was using Ixingbai, that illusion technique, but borrowing the feeling of missing home to actually talk about missing him, concealing affection. It was a known rhetorical trick.
So she publicly decoded it, validating the poem's real meaning. How did the emperor react to being fined and corrected?
This is brilliant. He just bursts out laughing and says something like, "How could I not know? Of course I understood. But," he says, "if I only praised her for missing me, wouldn't that suggest the other consorts don't miss me?"
Oh, that's smooth. So he claims he got it all along. He was just being diplomatic, fair to everyone.
Exactly. He turned a potential embarrassment into an act of imperial magnanimity. It protected his image.
Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of this whole night was about actual literary appreciation and how much was just pure court politics, with the empress calling the shots on interpretation?
That's the core question. She used the rules of poetry critique to manage his attention, essentially. Okay, so that's subtlety and corrected subtlety. What about the ones who just went for it?
Right, the less subtle attempts. You mentioned the empress's tone actually shifted here, became more playful.
It did. It's fascinating. Take Hua Shuxia. She submitted a saya, which is a different lyric form, often a bit more free-flowing.
Okay.
And her poem had lines about, like, gambling over a golden hairpin, and then she directly asks if the emperor is being naughty, or if she is.
Uh-huh. That is cheeky. Very direct, very flirtatious. Less refined sorrow and more come hither.
Totally. And how does the empress respond? Not with some deep literary analysis. She just makes a joke. She says she's only afraid that tonight Lady Hua won't be able to be naughty anymore.
Whoa. So basically, message received, he's yours tonight.
Pretty much. The royal seal of approval on a successful flirtation.
And there was another one like that. Xie Liao.
Yes, Xie Liao. Her Sido was praised by the empress specifically for being, and this is a direct quote, not only emotional and charming, but also serves as a speedy invitation, a sutai for the emperor to visit her.
A speedy invitation. The empress is literally calling the poem a booty call.
Essentially, yes. The subtext is completely gone. She's openly acknowledging and approving the poem as a successful romantic, maybe even sexual proposition. It shows that directness could work as long as it had charm, and crucially, the Empress is okay.
So you could win with deep, subtle intimacy like Shifu Ren, or clever veiled meaning like Jiang Tao, or just outright charming flirtation like Hua Shuxia and Xia Liao. But what about, just really good standard poetry? Did classical elegance count?
Oh, absolutely. Can't forget the formalists. The court needed that veneer of high culture. Dichuanrui, for instance, was praised for hitting that perfect classical balance. Sorrowful, but not excessive. Joyful, but not indecent.
Right, the Aobushong, Le Obuyin ideal. Emotional control, tasteful expression. The Confucian standard.
Precisely. And another Fanwan was noted for being deep in feeling, light in intention. So technical skill, restraint, that sort of classical correctness, it definitely earned points. It shows this wasn't just about who could flirt best, it was a multi-layered game.
Okay, so we've seen success through various means. But this kind of pressure must have led to some less successful moments. You mentioned an anecdote about Jia Suzhen.
Jia Suzhen. This story is wonderful because it's so human. The emperor actually praised her poem for its natural beauty. Simple, unaffected.
Sounds good, right?
You'd think, but apparently the other ladies in the room just burst out laughing when he said it.
Ouch, that tells you a lot about the atmosphere. They knew something.
They did. And their famous companion, Flower Lady, immediately spilled the beans. She revealed that poor Jia Suzhen had struggled massively with the poem. She'd written draft after draft, gotten frustrated, wadded them up, and then, get this, she ate 3 or 4 of the paper drafts.
You ate them, like literally ate the paper.
Literally ate the paper. Chilasansi to hide the evidence of her struggle, presumably out of sheer panic and fear of failure.
Oh my God. That is relatable levels of stress right there. Eating your homework, it completely punctures the image of effortless grace.
Wasn't it? And Flower Lady added that Jia had joked she needed to put out a few farts, hoping the emperor would just tolerate her beginner's effort.
Wow. So vulnerable. How did the emperor handle that?
He seems to have handled it well. He just laughed, maybe sensed the cruelty in the others' laughter, fined them for making fun of her, but stuck by his praise of her poem, showed a bit of mercy, but reinforced that this competition was serious business.
Okay, so amidst the struggles and the various styles, was there one clear winner? A poem that just blew everyone away?
There was. Xia Ying, also known as Shui Shi. Her submission seems to have silenced all debate.
What did she write?
She submitted a 5-character lishi, regulated verse. Now, you have to understand, the lishi is maybe the hardest form in classical Chinese poetry.
Why is that?
It has incredibly strict rules. Fixed number of lines, fixed characters per line, complex tonal patterns that have to match between couplets, parallel structures required. It's technically demanding. Mastering it is like, composing a perfect sonnet while juggling.
So just choosing that form was a power move, signaling serious skill.
Absolutely. And the reaction was immediate and unanimous. The emperor apparently exclaimed, "I was just saying there wasn't an outstanding one. Turns out it's here."
High praise. What did the empress say?
Empress Xiao agreed instantly, called it truly excellent, dignified, and pure, clearly a master, no jokes, no ambiguity. This was recognized as pure literary genius.
So Xia Ying basically won the literary gold medal for the night.
Pretty much. But despite that high point, the emperor made this really interesting general comment about the submissions overall.
Oh, what was that?
He noted that many of them, even from women known as court poetry masters, felt like ministers responding to an imperial decree. Chen Xiangji.
Huh. Meaning they were technically perfect, followed the rules, but
lacked heart, lacked passion, maybe originality. They sounded like homework assignments, not genuine expressions of feeling.
So he was saying competence wasn't enough.
Yeah?
He was bored by just correctness. That implies, for a consort to really win his favor, she couldn't just be a good poet. She had to be a convincing performer of emotion, make him feel something unique.
Exactly. Technical skill got you respect, maybe praise from the empress for correctness, like Dichuanrui. But it seems genuine feeling, or at least a convincing performance of feeling, whether intimate, veiled, or openly flirtatious, was needed to truly capture the emperor's interest. Or, of course, absolute mastery like Xia Ying.
And that sets up the finale perfectly, doesn't it? Because after all the poems are read and judged, the empress makes her final move.
Yes. The reading's finished. They move on to more drinking, music, the party phase. The emperor seems ready to call it a night. maybe head back to his own quarters.
But the Empress stops him.
Stops him cold. This is the peak drama moment. He's getting ready to leave, and she steps in and declares, "Tonight I am the host." Junya Shikizuzu takes complete charge.
Wow. Using her role as hostess for the evening to basically override him. What does she command?
She dictates exactly where he's going. She orders him to spend the night at Beilin Yuan.
And Beilin Yuan is?
The residence of Sha Ying, the literary master whose Linshi had just been declared the best of the night.
So she's directly linking the literary victory to the ultimate prize and night with the emperor. She's making the reward explicit and public.
Undeniably. She cemented Sha Ying's status, but she added one more layer.
What was that?
She also commanded the famous companion and dancer, Xu Ye, to go with him. She specifically framed it as one proper consort, one secondary companion.
So the Empress isn't just rewarding Sha Ying, she's managing the entire entourage for the night. She's orchestrating his romantic life based on the results of the poetry contest.
Precisely. She's demonstrating her power not just to judge the art, but to enforce the consequences of that judgment. She confirms Sha Ying's literary win with the ultimate reward, and she does it by physically stopping the emperor and dictating his plans. He couldn't argue.